Mediterranean cruises are amazing. They typically have lots of port days, and each port will offer historic sites, museums, gourmet adventures, and stunning beaches. In this video, we'll break down the factors to consider for determining the best time to do a Mediterranean cruise and provide our recommendations.
Hi y'all, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Becky.
And together we're a cruising good time. We've been to the Mediterranean many times, both on cruise ships and on land trips, and we've always had a great time. In this video, we're going to give you the pros and cons of when to go, what to look for in different times of the year so you can get the most bang for your buck. Stick around to the end of the video because we're going to give you the recommendation not only based on us, but on some friends and family that have also been in the Mediterranean and even worked a few different seasons in the Mediterranean. In doing the analysis to determine best time to go to the Mediterranean, we looked at several different factors. One of those being the crowd size, when's it crowded, when's it not, what the weather is, the temperatures, the cloudiness. We looked at the cost of going and when things are open, because some things have limited hours in lower seasons or are closed altogether. So in traveling in the Mediterranean, we break it down into 5 seasons instead of just the regular shoulder and peak season that a lot of tourist sites and websites will do. The early spring shoulder season, which is April through middle May, the spring shoulder season, which is middle May through mid-June, the high season, which is mid-June through August, the fall shoulder season, which is September through middle October, and finally the late fall shoulder season, which is middle October through middle December.
First, let's take a look at the weather. So Mediterranean cruises include the Mediterranean, the Aegean, and the Adriatic Seas. There are so many different ports and so many different itineraries. And there are many different places you can embark from. You can embark from Barcelona or Civitavecchia near Rome, Istanbul, Athens, or various ports near Venice. We evaluated the weather at many different ports, and there's a lot of similarities between them. And Athens is toward the center of the map, so we decided to use it as our graphics, and we'll talk about variations when we go through things. There's a link to the weather site in the description below. So let's look at the average and high temperatures in Athens. So here's a graph, and it shows the variability throughout the year so you can see the temperatures. So when we look in April, where cruises start to run in the Mediterranean, we can see that the lows can be like an average of 51 up to 68 degrees Fahrenheit throughout April. And then when you get to August, you can see that temperatures can be as high as 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So we have experienced temperatures above 90 degrees Fahrenheit when we have been in the Mediterranean during the summer months. So this is one thing to consider if you're not one of those folks who are not going to want to be in these temperatures. Another thing to consider is when you're looking at Athens, the temperature here is warmer than several other ports. Like if you're looking for the high in Barcelona, it's going to be more like in the mid-80s. So there is some variation in the temperatures in different places in the Mediterranean, but they all follow this general curve. So if you're considering swimming while you're in the Mediterranean, another thing to consider is the water temperature.
Yeah.
Once again, so these are the water temperatures in Athens. In April, it's a fabulous 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and then when you get to August, it might be as high as 78 degrees Fahrenheit, which is still cold for some of us who swim in the Caribbean or Gulf of Mexico. These temperatures remain fairly constant throughout the Mediterranean, so these are very representative of almost any port that you're going to be at. Another important thing to consider is, although it was very cold in the shoulder seasons of the spring, the fall shoulder season, the water is maintaining its temperature and it's much more pleasant to swim in. So next, let's discover something that's important to sun worshipers and photographers, which is the amount of cloud cover. So here is a representative graph of what cloud cover looks in the Mediterranean. You'll see that mid-July, there's the least amount of clouds, and in Athens, it's beautiful clear skies. Now, the general shape of this curve is very similar throughout the Mediterranean, but the number's different from port to port.
High season is going to be middle June through August in the Mediterranean. It's going to be very warm at that time of year. All the sites are going to be open, the bars, restaurants, all the activities are going to be open and roaring and going. There's going to be plenty of guides that you can see different sites with or cities and all that. It is going to be hot. The temperature is going to be up around 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 32 C. But the water is also going to be nice and warm and pleasant for swimming, up around about 78 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 25 degrees C. Still a little cooler than the Caribbean, but very swimmable to be sure. And as Becky showed a while ago, there's not going to be many clouds in there. That's the time, almost zero cloud cover, so you're not going to get rained on hardly at all while you're there. So from that aspect, it's a great time to go, if you like the crowds.
Well, and these temperatures, once again, are for like Athens and Rome are going to have temperatures along these lines. And for some of these ports, the temperatures could be 5 to 7 degrees Fahrenheit cooler.
The early spring shoulder season in the Mediterranean is going to be April through middle part of May. You can find some really good bargains this time of year to go.
Another thing you may want to consider when planning your trip is Greek Easter. So Greek Easter is going to occur 1 week later than Catholic Easter because they use the Julian calendar instead of the Gregorian calendar. And they have a lot of different traditions and a lot of things may be going on. And there may be more tourists who come to help celebrate these fabulous customs during that time period. However, overall in this time period, many things will not be open. You're going to have less restaurants, less tours. It just goes on of what may not be open. And things that are open may have limited hours. So these are things to really consider for the cruises in this time period.
It's a real trade-off there because you got the inexpensive travel, but fewer things are open because it's more inexpensive to travel.
Yes, and people are still in school, there will definitely be less crowds at any place you go see. So for instance, Santorini has some very popular places to get your photos, and big lines develop in crowded seasons. In this time of year, it'll be much easier to get these fabulous photographs.
That time of year, the weather's a little more unpredictable, so bring a light jacket because you could get some rain, or it could just be chilly, dress in layers. And the water's probably going to be a little too chilly to swim at that time of year because it hadn't warmed up yet, but it's still some good economic bargains. Yeah, to go along with more unpredictable weather, you can still get some winter storms coming through there. So if you get high seas at some of these tender ports, you may lose a port there because of the high seas. Just be aware of that as well. The spring shoulder season is going to run from middle May to middle part of June. It's still some great economic bargains out there, but a lot more things are going to be opened up by then, and the hours are going to be a little bit longer. The daylight's going to be a lot longer in the Mediterranean that time of year, so just a lot more fun to kind of go that time of year. We've been to the Mediterranean several times in the late May, early June time frame, and we really like that time of year a lot because, like I said, things are open. It's easy to get around. It's easy to get a guide if you want a guide. Restaurants and activities are all open, so it's just really a lot of fun. And the weather really isn't that bad. It's quite pleasant temperature and not a whole lot of rain.
I think the weather is ideal in this time period. We've had great times there. We've been swimming in the Mediterranean. It's a pretty terrific time to go all in all. So the crowds are less in high season. There's going to be a few places that feels a little crowded, but all in all, it's really not bad. Fall shoulder season is September through mid-October. Kids are going back to school, so the crowds are getting less. The weather is getting a little bit cooler, but it's very, very pleasant. And the ocean have maintained the heat, so it's completely swimmable. It is a beautiful time to go to the Mediterranean.
It is. We really enjoy that time of year as well. Like I said, it's kind of like a little bit like the spring shoulder season. You got the good temperature. The crowds are a little bit lower. A lot of things are still open. Most everything's still open, so a little bit better bang for your buck. I'm not a busy crowd person, so I don't want to be hanging around all the crowds anyway, so I much prefer the fall shoulder season.
Late fall shoulder season is mid-October through mid-December. The temperatures are really dropping. It's very essential you wear layers, and I would say we took one of these cruises last year, and we wore a rain jacket almost every day, but we did have pockets of sunshine, and we're able to wear shorts at 2 days out of 14 on the cruise. It's still a beautiful time to go. The crowds are way down. Many places that we stopped at, we were the only ship at port. However, many things are closed. When we were trying to make restaurant reservations to see sunset at Santorini, there were many, many places we couldn't get a hold of. Also, storms are more likely to blow up and be able to make it where you can't see certain ports, especially tender ports. So, for instance, we weren't able to go to Santorini, and we were a little late getting into Mykonos. So those are things to consider when you're deciding to go this. There are some great bargains out there for cruises this time of year, and we had a fabulous time.
We did. We had a really good time. I don't like really big crowds, so I kind of found it enjoyable to walk around Mykonos and not be bumped around there. We had, just us walking around there. So, but there weren't any shops hardly at all open to buy any souvenirs from. Also, that time of year, we really enjoy being in Rome at Christmas time. And by early December, they got everything dressed up for Christmas. It looks really great. It's just a lot of fun.
I have to give a big shout out to how fabulous it is to be in Rome on December 8th. In fact, we have a video related to that. We'll put a link in the description below. So, Jeff, what is your favorite time to go to the Mediterranean?
My favorite time to go to the Mediterranean is that spring shoulder season in the May, June time frame. The weather's getting warm. It's not too crowded. You still get some great bargains out there. Things are open. There's a lot of activities to do. That is my favorite time to go without a doubt. I just really find that a great time to go to the Mediterranean. Becky, what's your favorite time to go to the Mediterranean?
Okay, so my favorite time would be the fall shoulder season. So I love the water. I love to swim, and I don't really love crowds. So this is pretty fabulous for me to go to the Mediterranean in that time of year. So interestingly enough, one of my cousins said the Mediterranean is always too cold to swim in for her. And then my niece, she went to the Mediterranean in high season last year. And so she had a fabulous time. She absolutely loves it, would recommend that time period. It was fabulous for swimming. She was never too warm, and she only felt crowded in Rome, and she was on a 2-week Mediterranean cruise.
We have some other friends, and I kind of fall in this category as well. The best time to go to the Mediterranean is any time of the year. Which you can't hardly go wrong. Just be ready for the weather. But it's always a lot of fun to go to the Mediterranean.
Yeah, the sights are fabulous. And as long as you're willing to wear the right gear and don't mind if you're in a little bit of rain, 2 thumbs up any time of year. We have done many videos related to the Mediterranean, and we're going to leave some links in the description below. Please let us know what is your favorite time to visit the Mediterranean, and let us know if you have any questions. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so very much for watching.
If you liked the video, please give us a like and subscribe and turn on those notifications. It really helps us out.
Until next time, have a cruising good time.